Yeah. So here we are speaking about standard input is the quantity of input required to produce 1 unit of output you will be using. This is an estimate of how much units you will be using to produce 1 unit of output. That's standard. And standard price is nothing but a pre-estimated price company expects to pay for 1 unit of input. Okay, very clear. So standard input is quantity of input you need to produce 1 unit of output, and price is nothing but what you pay for 1 unit of input. Standard cost is nothing but the cost of producing 1 unit of output. So I'll be writing it standard input quantity of input to produce 1 unit of output. Then comes standard price. What you pay for 1 unit of input. Then comes standard cost. Is nothing but the cost for making 1 unit of output. Cost for making okay. The standard direct material cost per unit of output is the standard material input. So that's what they are saying. That terminology should be clearly understood. Standard direct material cost per unit of output is nothing but the input what you have taken for making 1 unit of output into standard price. So standard quantity into standard price. Okay. Or standard input quantity into standard price. Standard direct labor cost per unit of output is nothing but the standard direct labor hours into how many hours is allowed. So standard direct labor hours allowed for 1 unit of output multiplied by standard price per direct labor hour. So standard direct labor hours into standard price per labor hour. Standard price, you can just take like that. Okay? So application rate per unit, the standard cost application rate per unit is the standard or predetermined cost per unit based on budgeted total cost divided by budgeted production. So that's we have already discussed. So let's say if the total cost is 10,000 manufacturing overheads, and then divided by budgeted, so standard cost application rate per unit. So I'm speaking about applied cost. Okay, so I'm speaking about applied cost. So standard input for standard output, actual input for actual output, then standard input for actual output. So here applied comes into picture. Okay, so yeah, so the standard cost application rate per unit is the standard or predetermined cost per unit based on budgeted total cost divided by budgeted production. So if my budgeted total cost is like $10,000, this is the budget I have made for material, and I want to make 1,000 units of my material. Okay, so what is my application rate per unit? So my input would be this for some output, correct? So my application rate per unit will be $10. So standard cost application rate per unit is the standard or predetermined cost unit based on budgeted total cost by divided by budgeted production. So these estimated costs are applied to the actual production. That's what I'm saying. As production takes place throughout the year. So this cost, what you have estimated, you will be multiplying with the actual production to get the total cost. Okay. for that particular activity. Differences between actual incurred cost and cost applied to production are reported as variance. That means standard input for actual output minus actual input for actual output would create variances. Very simple. Okay. That will be learning in the next topic of variance analysis. Now there are types of budgets: static budget, which is like you fix some units that you're going to produce, and only that taking that into consideration, you prepare your budget. And flexible is nothing but if you prepare more or less, what's going to be the cost for a particular activity, that comes under flexible budget. So now we're entering into the new that is standard cost, setting standard costs. So there are various methods with which you can set your standard cost: with activity analysis, historical data, target costing, strategic decisions, and benchmarking. So let's discuss the first one, how we can set standard cost with these various methods. Activity analysis. So let's say we can read this point. Activity analysis involves identifying and evaluating all the input factors and activities required to complete a job or a project on an operation efficiently. So how much inputs you want to make a particular to complete a job or to complete a task, that's what we are seeing. Activity analysis is the most accurate way of determining standard cost. It is probably, if it is properly executed, of course. So activity analysis should be performed by people from several different areas, including product engineers, industrial engineers, management accountants, and production workers. Product engineers specify the components to be used in manufacturing of a product. Industrial engineers analyze the procedures required to complete the manufacturing process. Yes, so the product engineers, they know what components they require to make a product, and industrial engineers see what kind of process they will be using to make that product. So production workers are interviewed to gain their input. Management accountants work with engineers to complete the analysis. So activity analysis specifies the quantity and the quality of the direct material, the required skills and experience of employees who will produce the product. So what the activity analysis under activity analysis, what they do, they see how much quantity, what quality and direct of direct materials, and the skills required, skills and experience required in an employee to produce a product, and the equipment to be used in producing the product, so machines and all. So management accountants calculate the cost of direct material, labor, the overhead, and other items to determine the total standard cost. So as I say, direct material per unit, labor cost per unit, and overhead cost. So these three, when you add, you get standard cost. Okay. Now historical data. So based upon the past history, like how they've been producing, how many units they've been producing, and you see, you don't see much more changes in your activity levels. So what happens? You have a historical data. Based upon that, you set the cost of the product. Target costing. You fix a target revenue. Okay. You fix a target revenue. You want so and so revenue to generate, like 1 lakh, and you set a target cost, like what to make some products during 80,000. So your target profit is $20,000. Okay. So target costing is like here we have seen. So target costing is used when a firm has a specific selling price at which it desires to sell its product. That means they want to sell it some specific price, which they already have pre-decided. Okay, so target cost is the cost that yields the required profit margin for the product. That means if they have fixed some revenue, if they have fixed some cost, they get desired results. Isn't it so? Of course, the management then needs to figure out how to actually produce the product. Yeah, then they have to see the processes required to make that product. Then comes the strategic decisions. So see, I'm speaking about Kaizen process. So strategic decisions can also affect a product standard cost. If management has made a strategic decision to pursue Kaizen, that is a Japanese term for continuous improvement, then with more and more passage of time and with more experience, they try to ascertain the cost of a product. Okay, and with efficiency. Okay. So other strategic decisions can affect a product standard cost. For example, a management decision to replace an obsolete piece of equipment with a new machine would require an updating of standards and standard cost. Of course. So when you go for improvements, then you have to change the standards also. Then benchmarking, you create a benchmark, a standard that you want something to make at this particular per unit you want to make, whatever the cost you want to incur is this particular value or figure. That's called benchmarking. Okay. So input into the standard. So you fix a input, like how much input you will take, definitely. And then you also like have data of other firms who have set some standards, who are operating in similar similar area of the business in which you are. Then what happens, you like kind of collect data from that and your own data, and then you try to create a standard benchmark. Okay. You will be buying something at that particular price, and then you will be making some particular product of some fixed units, and then that will give you the standard cost. Okay. Then who should set the standards? Really speaking, the managers, the management who are involved in budgeting process should set the standards. So we have already discussed about the types of budgets what are made in the companies: authoritative, participative, and consultative. I don't want to discuss again this one. We've already discussed about this, correct, in details. Then what we can do is in the next session, like tomorrow, whatever the class we take, we'll be going for establishing direct material standards. We'll go from here. Okay. This one, just a second. Yeah, we can wind up this one and then go for forecasting techniques. Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you so much. Because I have one more session in 10 minutes, because of power cut, it got interrupted. Otherwise, I would have taken a continuous session. Okay. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, sir. Thank you so much. Then tomorrow I'll take the class. Thank you.